Welcome to Aaron Plays. This will be episode 2 of my solo playthrough of a Guiscard scenario. The scenario being played is scenario 1, the evening of Civitat. Hello there. Yes, this is turn 2 of this scenario, which I'm playing solo, both-handed. There are unfortunately no solo rules for this, so I'm tempted to try and develop some. Situation, as a reminder, is that there's a group of knights up here that need to be wiped out by the Norman player, which are the ones highlighted in red. Okay, the more of these guys here that are killed, the higher the victory can state for the Normans. If at the end of the 12 turns, there's 12 turns in this scenario, there are still 4 of these guys standing, then the Germans win. If there's 2 or 3 standing, it's a draw, and if there's only 1 or less, then the Normans win. Okay. Other casualties are apparently irrelevant. So there is a relief force, one's here in yellow, and with the Normans trying to stop them joining up with the Germans on the hillock there. So I will now make myself a mini-me to remove myself, and we will go on with turn 2 with the Germans and their relief or rescue group up to going next. Now, I did explain a few of the rules in the first episode, so if you haven't watched it, go back to that one. But as and when things occur that I feel needs explanation, then I will do so. So this is not a complete rules tutorial or breakdown, but as and when things occur, I think that might need explaining. Yeah, I will do so. So in the turn sequence, this is an I go, you go system. So you've got a player A and a player B. Player A at the present moment is these Germans and the relief force here, and then player B being the Normans. Okay, so the first step is offensive fire. Okay, is there any firing that these guys want to do? Now, these guys are javelin armed, and the only time they can actually fire is in the offensive fire phase. So I think they'll be starting to lob some javelins at these Norman knights that are standing quite close to them. Now, I've marked on the actual counters a J equals 4. That's how much ammo they've got throughout the entire scenario. Right? The other numbers here, the 9, the 6, and the 8, respectively, that's their attack value, defense value, movement value. None of those come into play when it comes to using missile weapons. Missile fire does not have to be predetermined or declared in the offensive fire phase, whereas it does in the defensive fire phase. But we're doing offensive fire, so let's focus on that at the moment. So we're going to start off with this guy here, firing at this guy here with his javelin. So looking at the charts, okay, you normally have what's called an impact hex. Firing is normally resolved in 2 steps. First of all, you determine where the actual missile lands, and then you determine its effect. However, as in our example here, he's within 2 hexes range. You do not have to roll for impact, i.e. it's going to hit the guy that it's intended to hit. Now, looking at the effect on javelins, so look here. All right, you've got foot javelin. Okay, short range is 1 to 5 hexes, medium range 6 to 12, and long range 13 to 25. And it says it's offense values. It can't be, a javelin can't be used in the defensive fire phase. And effects on movement is no limit. So the guy can still move after he's fired. All right, so now that we determine that's the target, just take a note that his defense fire value is circle, so it's an armored target, which will add 1 to the die roll. Okay, so missile against mounted targets, roll a d10. And there's a particular column for each. Okay, so that's the roll and the cover type. We know the guy's in no cover, so we'll be looking on this column here. All right, and it's +1, as I say, to the target. Move that out of the way, rolling the dice. He rolls a 2. Okay, so going back on our effect here, so it's a 2, which becomes a 3, it's armored, and the effect is a C, which when we look at the effects column, offensive fire, horse unarmed, rider wounded. Okay, so on here, we will decrease his status to, okay, you see his values have dropped. All right, and on this guy, I will change the label to now show that he's only got 3 javelins remaining. Okay, and I should be able to mark him as fired, offensive fire. All right, just to remind me that he's fired for the round. Okay, this guy will also fire, and he'll fire at the same guy. Checking the line of sight. Let's just move everybody. There's a line of sight determination. Probably that one. Yes, that's it. Okay, so that's clear. No one else gets in the way. So center to center hex. However, he is 3 hexes away, so he will actually have to roll an impact dice to see where the shot lands. So that there being the target hex. Right, so bringing up on here, the actual selection of impact hex, what are the modifiers? So is it long range shot? No. Wounded shooter? No. Medium range? No. Is it horse archer? Archer slinger within 4 hexes of its target? So no. So none of those modifiers apply. So straight D10 roll to see where the shot lands. And rolls a 1, which if you look at the actual impact, is it lands where he wanted to land. 1 to 4 is banging the target hex. Okay, so now going back to this 3, so it's a short range shot. It's short range shot. So again, we're looking at this over here, rolls again. Oh, 10 plus 1 is 11, which still equals a 10. So 7 plus on here equals no effect. All right, other than he's fired. So I'll just change the label on him. J equals 3. Okay, and he has offensive fire. Right, we'll have this guy then fire on this one. Okay, 2 hex range, so we don't have to do impact roll. A straight roll +1. Rolls a 5, becoming a 6. Looking at the chart, 5 becomes a 6. Result A. Offensive fire. Rider retreats 4 hexes immediately. All right, the character effective, so looking at what that little wiggly SE thing is. The character effective must immediately retreat. He can retreat across hexes occupied by friendly characters. He can also displace friendly characters in order to end up the required distance from the starting point. Okay, so he backs off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and again, that's him fired. Go through the fire, offensive fire, and then change label. There it is. Say J equals 3. And then this guy then will fire on here. There's 3 hexes away, so he will have to try for the impact. Impact is he rolls a 9. Okay, so looking at the impact area, rolls a 9. All right, so this is where you've got to twist your head around, try and work out. So he was intended, the shot is coming in straight. All right, so 1 to 4 would be there. 10 would be there. And then that's Alexa joining in the conversation. Okay, so 10 went in there. So therefore, looking at the diagram, 9 is 1 hex to the side of that 10 position, which is, so that'd be 10, 9. No, that was the target hex. I really struggle with this one. So 10, 1 to 4 is there, 10 is there, 9 is there. So it actually hits into the rear of the horse. Okay, and the effect, remember it's +1 on this. Oh, that's a 2. Okay. So 2, that's another C. Offensive fire, horse unharmed, rider wounded. And a wounded character that already takes a wound is killed. So on here, I'm going to mark it with decrease. The horse is fine. The horse is left. Now I'm going to have to find this guy's rider. Place the guy dead next to his unharmed horse. We'll now change label him, so he's now J equals 3. He has also offensive fire. Now, this guy which cannot shoot or throw overhead, but can he see there? Straight along. No, there are too many slopes in the way that he can't actually see this guy. And his own guys in the way there as well. So he won't fire. So that's the offensive fire phase done. Next up is the movement phase. Well, now it's carry charges, but we're not playing with carry charges in this because it's the section of the rules that we're going through haven't covered carry charges, even though there's cavalry on the board. I surmise that's probably a very hot day, and these guys, it's at the end of a battle, are quite exhausted. That's my narrative reason for excluding carry charges. The real reason is the rules have stated that, you know, that the carry charges aren't needed in this rule section. We haven't actually read up to that, so I'm showing the scenario without carry charges. Maybe I'll come back to this scenario at some point with carry charges involved. So we skip that step. It's the movement and defensive fire phase. Now over here, the section where the German infantry are, the dismounted knights effectively, these javelin armed troops do not have a defensive fire phase, so they could come in and engage. But the main reason for this is that this scenario is these guys want is preservation. So I'm going to not have them move forward and engage. I'm going to have them continue to move away, though there is an argument to actually move them towards their relieving force. But I'm not going to actually implement that at the present moment. So, okay. These javelineers can move forward. They've got a movement value of 8. They're not restricted. Do they really want to worry about capturing a horse? I don't at this point see any need for them to do so. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if this was the front of the knight, this guy moving from there to there for 6 would involve a infiltration move. However, it's the rear of the horse, so no, there's none of that required. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, it's the rear of the horse. 5. I don't think we want them to actively attack a knight to the front, though you're not forced to combat anybody if you do end up in their front. Okay, so this Norman knight is wounded, so let's go and finish him off. He's got a movement value of 12. You can move through any of these front hexes here. So 1, 2. Right, how do you turn these guys? Rotate clockwise. There we go. 3, 1, 2, 1. I think the rest here won't engage yet. Right. And over here, right, yeah, this hill, as you can see, keeps flashing up. But this is actually a terrain overlay. On the actual printed map, there is a building under here that's on top of this. So there are overlays, which are included in the box, which you place over certain terrain. So, and on the vassal module, it keeps bringing it up what it looks like. So these guys are going to fall back. Now, can they utilize the terrain? This rock is 4 movement points to move through. So I think we'll just have them back up a couple of hexes. We have just seen how powerful javelins can be. So let's move them to so they're not within 2 hexes, which is an auto hit. That withdrawn for effect, you saw that happen there. So they would actually still have, if they decided to fire, would have to roll for impact to see where the actual javelin lands. So yeah, okay, so that is the movement phase done. We're into combat. Okay, so we're going to declare these 3 here. Okay, I'm just moving the mouse, but I can emphasize that a bit more. That one, and that one. Attacking this guy who's on the slope. I need to check to see if they get any rear advantage. I don't think there is, but I'll just double check that. There's no advantage as such for attacking the rear of a mounted character, other than they've obviously got 3 characters against him, so they'll get 1 column shift for that. In actual fact, they won't, because they're foot figures. So the only way you get a column shift against a mounted is if you've got multiple attackers attacking a mounted figure. As both of them are occupying this hill terrain here, it cancels out the effect of a bonus for either side. If it was only these 2 attacking, they would get a column shift for attacking a guy who's struggling on a slope. So that extra 8, is it worth that column shift? Actually, probably it's actually, yeah, they won't bring this guy into the fight because he will level out. So these 2 attacking the horse struggling on the hill here. Okay, so it's 9 plus 8, which is 17, against 14, and he's armored. So it's only got a differential of 3. So not great. That's the missile part. So we look here, combat against mounted opponents, and it's in that area. So if you add the other guy, you will add a column. Yeah, all right, add the other guy, which adds a column anyway, differential, because he has the other 9. Makes no difference. Other than he could attack separately. So you could have these 2 attacking, and then this guy could attack as a separate attack. And if he gets stunned in his first attack, that could be useful. So let's do that then. All right, so these 2 guys attack at the +3, which is this column, and with a +1 on the dice. All right, he's mounted opponent. So they get 1 column shift because the mounted guy is on the slopes. Let me show where I'm getting that from, actually. So, got a slope here, all right, which has got various columns, movement, point costs, color type, and terrain advantage. You see the slopes, got a little minus there. Okay, so it doesn't specify defender minus or attacker minus. If you're on the slope, it gives a minus. A minus gives your opponent, when they're attacking you, 1 column shift. And that's where I'm getting it from. So we're on the 0 to 4, because there's only a 3 differential, which then goes to the 5 to 8. And there's a +1 on this die roll because they're armored. 6 becomes 7, 5 to 8. That's a B. All attackers retreat 1 hex. Well, that wasn't particularly useful, was it? Okay. So he fends them off. This guy decides that the better part about it, you do not have, again, to predetermine all attacks. They decide that they're not going to get against this guy on their own. All right, so this guy manages, again, from a narrative and visual point of view, I know this guy's moving in this direction, but I can imagine him just I was just about to show you physically on my person how it's done. Obviously, you can't see me on the screen, but he's turned around in his saddle and just whacked them back with his sword or fending them off with a shield, to such a degree that these guys decide that the better part about it is to, and let's back off. Right, moving down to the other, which I believe is the only other attack, which is on this guy. We have this. Now, again, we have these 2, having this guy come in later, just in case this guy could completely retreat. So let's go all out. So all 3 go in. So it's 21 plus 24 is 45. Plus 22, 65, 67 against 8. That's a massive differential, isn't it? It's 59 on the table. So again, we're looking on here. And they get an additional construct because they're all mounted. Okay. D10. So 2 becomes a 3. That's an I. Plus 1 because it's still armored. I. 1 rider killed and dismounted, horse killed. They chopped him up. Okay. So I've got to just decrease that. Horse dead. And now I'm going to go and find the rider. It can now be an advance after combat. And they must take into effect the rules of infiltration. One of these guys can advance up to half their movement allowance. Now, if I move this guy here and then here, this guy will be able to do an infiltration attack on him. So I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to move this guy. So he'll go 1 into there. Then we'll turn and then turn back 2 to there, 3 to there. So in real terms, he went into this hex, turned to this direction, 2, turned, 3. Okay. Hopefully making it difficult for these guys in future turns to get out of that situation. I think I will also then just turn his face again. Rotate clockwise. There we go. He's got 3 frontal hexes there and the infiltration rules. Okay, so that is the only two combats that the relief force are doing, and I say they've pulled back. So I'm just going to end a movement, move all offensive fire markers, done. And now we're into period B, so it's over to the Normans. Again, the first part of their turn is the offensive fire. Now, I've showed you a couple of times the charts and tables. I'm not going to do that from now on. I'll show you how it works. So I will just read off the results of my actual physical copy that I've got set in front of me. Okay, but I will explain what's going on and what's required. I'm just not going to keep bringing the chart up every time. So this tree here is going to hamper, if not actually block the shots from these guys, but not from these. So let's start with, remember, you don't have to preordain what is actually shooting. So we'll start with this guy here, firing at this one over here. It's a range of 4, so we've got to make an impact roll. And as I mentioned, there's no modifiers for it. Low's good. He rolls a 7, so that shot's coming straight up. 7 actually lands, 1 hex, it lands in there. So it's a miss. So there's no point rolling it any further. I just change his label to G equals 3. And this is one of the reasons why this line moved back a little bit. All right. So this guy then, we'll take a shot at him. Okay, impact roll, a 1, bang on target. Okay, so the effect rolls a 4, becomes a 5, and these guys are dismounted, so it's actually using slightly different missile fire against infantry. With a 5, against no cover, is an A. Character retreats 2 hexes immediately. Okay, well, they don't mind that too much. 2 hexes immediately. So it does create a gap in the line if people wanted to exploit it and such forth, but they haven't really, these guys aren't going in to make hand combat. Change label to 3. Okay. So as you can see, missile fire against armored guys is not that effective. Oh, he says for the guy sitting over here dead, but there we go. All right, impact roll, 7. Again, the javelin falls short, so it's a miss. Change label, 3. And the final shot from over here, same guy. Impact roll, 1, bang on target, effect. 4 becomes a 5. Forces him back 2 hexes. So change label, 4 becomes 3. Forces him back. So actually pushes him back onto the slope there. Okay. And that's them fired. These guys, no, they won't fire. Right, so that's offensive cavalry charges. There are none. I'm not playing with that rule, as I said earlier. So it's now the movement phase. Okay, so killing these guys is paramount. So let's, whereas killing these guys is of a lower, in fact, it's a no priority. Though killing as many of them as possible, I suppose, helps because it stops them relieving these guys. Okay, so this knight's going to go down the slope there, and then I'll turn him round. Not pressing just press the wrong button there. So rotate, please Control R. Okay. Control R. Okay, so he goes to there. Control Shift R. There we go. Then moves into there. Boom. All right. And when it comes to what a terrain affects, it's for the mounted guy, it's always the where the front of the counter is. Now this mounted guy here wants to break away from this little upstart. So he's going to move into there first. It says no infiltration roll. Control Shift R. 2, 3, 4. Better double check sand isn't anything slower for beach is slow. No. Five, 6. Okay. Ideally, I'd want him here. Wrong way. 7. Getting used to the actual controls on this. There we go. Right, then this guy's going to go 1. 2, 3. 4. Okay. I'm just going to move the javelin men up. Okay. Now, if he moves from there to there, there'll be an infiltration attack. So he'll just stay there. All right, that just gets the javelin back in range. Right, so what are the normal? Yeah, they're taking a little bit of a pounding here. Okay. This guy here is now a good target for these. So let's actually, that wrong way. These guys are actually quite annoying. So turn this guy completely round, which costs 5 movement points. Okay, and then let's turn these guys completely around. And engage this guy who's in the way. And this just leaves this one. I think let's go engage those infantry. So again, shifting in completely round. 5. Six there. So effectively, we've got a mass melee going on here now, because these guys are going to come in behind these guys, and it's just going to be mounted guys whirling around each other in, let's say, in a mass melee. Unfortunately, it only leaves 3 mounted guys to try and take out these. Hopefully they'll do so from the Norman point of view. Hopefully they'll not do so from the German point of view. Okay, so that's movement. On to melee. So we'll declare these three attacking this chap here. Now, what terrain? Ooh. There you go. So you can now actually see what's actually under the terrain. I didn't realize clicking that would remove the actual overlay. As you can see, it's some form of tower and terrain. But let's put it all back, and that's what the overlay covers. So this guy is in clear terrain. Looks like all the others are. Now, there's rocks here on this hex side. I'm not sure if that prevents an attack. Let me just look at the terrain charts. Trail. Impassable to horse and by the side. Passable to horse and by the sides. I don't think he can attack there. So going back on his movement, I've stopped his movement because he could have an infiltration attack from him into there, which is not true. Because of that rock that blocks the possibility of infiltration, he had enough movement, so he moves to there. Okay, therefore I'm not restricting myself by a slight rules error, and then all three can still attack this guy, who is armored. So it's 24 plus 23, which is 47, plus 9, 47, that's 56 to 10. So that's 46 differential. Okay, and it's combat against infantry guys. So 46, what's called the 31 to 50 column. And then because there's multiple attackers, they go up one column, which is the 51 to 70. I roll a dice and I add 1 for the armor. 9 becomes 10. That is rubbish. That becomes a C. All defenders retreat 1 hex. Right. Okay, so now he's got to retreat 1 hex. Now he can't retreat from here to here because that's impossible. He could retreat from there to there. So it's possibly impossible as well. I'll just double check. See, impossible to horse and by the sides. So there's a little gap there. See, that's definitely all blocked. So it's a possible retreat, and you can't retreat. So actually, that is still on the trail, and that is also impassable. Ooh, let me check. It definitely says impassable by the sides. So looking at rocks, if you these rocks here, so if you move from there to there, it costs 4 movement points for foot, and it's impassable to horses. Okay, so again, moving from here to here is 4, and from there to there is another 4. But when there's I'm just going to put him here for the time being. It's a trail. He could move from there to there, but he can't retreat through an enemy or from there to there again. They blocked all the other hex sides. That there, for instance, from trail to the side is impassable. If you can't retreat, you take a wound. So he becomes wounded. Okay, so you can see his values have dropped. Okay, then we'll have this guy here, taking this one. So it's 25 to 10. So it's differential of 15. However, the foot guy is on the slope, which is at a disadvantage. He's trying to stay upright. So it adds another column. So it's a differential of 15. And so it's on the 9 to 12 column. No, it's not. It's on the 13 to 20. And it goes up 1 to the 21 to 30 column. with again +1 because he's armored. 5 becomes a 6. That becomes the letter D. D is one defender stunned. Okay. Right. If there was another guy that was there to attack this guy, he'd be almost certainly killed. As it is, a stunned guy can't do anything in their turn, but he'll stand up at the end of his turn. So it looks like, all right, stunned isn't that bad a result in this situation. But as I say, if there was another person that was able to attack him right now, at this instant, he'll be almost certainly dead. Right, so continuing the Norman's attack, we have this guy here attacking this foot warrior. Now again, 24 to 6, differential of 18. 18, which is the 13 to 20 column. But he's not armored, so there's no modifiers to the dice. Oh, that's a 1. That is an F on the table. 1 defender killed, straight kill. So decrease as that's done. Decrease and then decrease again, which means this guy can move up to half his movement allowance. And it's going to be done straight away. So he'll go 1 to there. Now, if he moves further, I think, why can't these guys just stack? Right, move in for the moment. So it's 1 into there. If he moves from there to there, he will get an infiltration attack on him. So I don't like to. So what we'll do is we don't want him to have an infiltration attack, so we'll just shift him R. There we go. They do guys don't like stacking in this module. No, why don't they stack? That's interesting. All right. Well, that they do that is actually occupying that hex, but it doesn't want to stack with him. Right, then these two attacking this guy, so it's 25 and 24. That's 49. Take away 7. That's 42 differential, and now it's 2 against 1. That's 31 to 50 is that adding 1 column for the 2 to 1 odds, or 2 extra column. Okay, and again, there's no modifier because he's not armored. That's a 2. That's also an instant kill. So decrease, there we go. Decrease and decrease. Again, only 1 guy can move. And then we've got to occupy that hex first of all, so he'll just go into it. Is it going to go in funny stack again? There it is. Don't like stacking in this module. Darn. Considering stacking is allowed. The actual right, I'm just going to leave him there. Can I change his position in the stack? No. That is a serious. I'm going to have to investigate this module and see if I can do anything about it. Oh, okay. That's not ideal. But that's essentially as far as we'll go there. And then these 2 knights here attacking this guy. So it's 22 plus 26. That's 46, but it's 48. Take away 11, 48, 38, 37. 21 to 30 column. And this is a mounted guy, 21 to 30. And adding 1 column because both guys are mounted. So it's a 31 to 50. He is armored, so there's a +1 on the dice. 9 becomes a 10. That's a C result. All defenders retreat 1 hex. Okay, so he goes back there. And we might as well have this guy following up. All right. Okay, so that is the conclusion of the Norman combat phase, and therefore it's the end of turn 2. So we'll move that on to turn 3, which will be in another video. Well, I hope you enjoyed what you've been seeing, guys. I'm not probably playing as the best abilities of any one particular side. I'm just showing things as they occur. We've got our first wounded dismounted knight. We've got one stunned. We'll be able to stand up at the end of their movement phase, of their third turn. So yeah, I've been finding it quite interesting, and I hope you have. So hit the like and subscribe if you've enjoyed it, and any comments, especially rules ones if I've made mistakes, or that you've seen, or you want to ask questions, more than welcome. Until next time, all the best. Bye.